Hello, and welcome this morning to this edition of Political Smackdown. We have our usual crew with us today. To my right is Mike Philbeck. To my extreme left is Andy Dedman. And to my left is Wes Westmoreland. And I'm Betsy Wells, your host this week.
I'm still on your right, Betsy.
We're glad that you opened up your homes to us today, and we hope that you enjoy the next 30 minutes and that you learn something. Let's get started, fellas. Before we begin political discussion this morning, I want to highlight a young man from Kings Mountain whose lifelong dream has been to play baseball in the major leagues. Will Wilson is a graduate of Kings Mountain High School, where he had a stellar high school record, batting a .535 as a senior on the way to All-State honors. He went on to play for NC State for 4 seasons and established himself as a viable MLB draft choice. He was an All-American in 2019, and he, as well as being named ACC Defensive Player of the Year. In his freshman year, 2017 season, he was a collegiate baseball freshman All-American. Will was one of the 5 finalists for the Brooks Wallace Award, given to the nation's top shortstop. Since graduation from NC State in the 2019 draft, Will was selected with the 15th overall pick of the 2019 Los Angeles Angels. He's played with several minor league teams, always awaiting the call to move up to the big league. He received that call in 2025 to come and play for the Cleveland Guardians, making his MLB debut on April the 23rd with a hit that day. He is married. His wife is Tori. He is the son of Brad and Robin Wilson of Kings Mountain, and Robin, his mother, played softball at Winthrop, and he's the grandson of Ronnie and Mary Wilson from Kings Mountain. We're just really proud of him. Any comments, guys? Wes?
Well, certainly always glad to see a Cleveland County native achieve such success, and congratulations to Will. You said big league. He's in the big league, however you define it. But I think more to your point, Betsy, we've had so many people from Cleveland County, and you wind the clock back to Governor Gardner, Governor Huey, obviously Tim Moore, longest serving speaker from the House. You've got David Thompson. You've got plenty of athletes. Hadley Heath Manning coming to speak at Pinnacle at the top of her game. I'm afraid sometimes our young people get in this trough that they think they can't do anything from Cleveland County. And the reality is you can be absolutely the best in your field from Cleveland County. And I think Will is an example of that, as was David Thompson. There's so many names we could throw out.
Okay. All right, Andy?
Well, and that's true. I mean, we were talking about before we started, Billy Champion's first one. I remember pitched for Pittsburgh Pirates for a number of years. Bobby Bell, defensive back, Kansas City Chiefs for a number of years. And in fact, he still is in Kansas City. They say he's got some pretty good barbecue at his restaurant. But, you know, and it goes on and on. We've got so many that maybe we don't even remember. But, you know, we're fortunate to have another one. We can put another name, and who knows what kind of career he may have. He's just really just getting started. So I think it's a wonderful thing for this young man, and we wish him nothing but the best.
Yes, we do. And also, you know, from Kings Mountain, we had a professional softball player in Rusty Bumgardner that played in the leagues for 20 years. We've had Kevin Mack, who played for from Cleveland, was the running back.
He played for
Cleveland.
Clemson.
Oh, wait, yes, he did before he played
I just want to
for
make
Cleveland.
that clear. My dad helped recruit Kevin.
Yes, he did. Kevin did play for Clemson and went
Well,
on
then
to
we
big
had the
leagues.
wrestler from
Wrestlers,
Kings Mountain,
yes.
Bam Bam.
McLean.
Yeah.
Well, y'all have left out one of the most famous from Waco, Floyd Patterson.
Floyd
Yes,
Patterson, you're right.
absolutely.
You are so
Yeah.
right.
World
from
champion.
I
Waco.
keep forgetting about
All right,
Floyd.
Let me just say congratulations to young Will Wilson and wish him the best, and I do hope he has a major league career that is truly successful.
And I think his grandfather played baseball for Shelby High School. Maybe his dad played. I mean, it's a baseball family. But yes, we're very proud of Will and wish him the best. Now moving on to state news. We're going to begin with more news from the thirst for power exerted by the Republican Party to diminish the powers of the North Carolina governor. Last week, we talked about the governor winning a lower court ruling in his legal battle with state legislators and Auditor Dave Bolick about the appointments of the majority of the boards of elections, state and county. Now, this week, an unnamed three-judge panel of the North Carolina Court of Appeals has blocked that ruling, which paved the way for Bolick to quickly appoint new elections board members. What does this mean for the regular North Carolina voter, and what happens next, Mike?
Well, y'all remember last week I told you that it's a statute that gives the governor the authority to appoint all 5 members, and I think we've got a newspaper article from 1901, which is when the legislature, 125 years ago nearly, authorized the 5-member board of elections to be appointed by the governor. Don't know how they were appointed before that, but that's a statute that did that.
1901.
You remember that I told you last week I wasn't sure that ruling would hold, because when you read what the Article 3 about executive branch says, it says the governor shall take care that the laws of the state be faithfully executed, but then under other elective officers in the executive branch, it says those officers will have their respective duties prescribed by law, and who makes law? The General Assembly. And so they have transferred it. So the simple answer to your first question, Betsy, is it means that all the authority the governor has had to appoint boards of elections since 1901 now resides in the auditor, assuming that this stands. The North Carolina Supreme Court hadn't weighed in. They just let it go on through. I have a sneaky suspicion that if they were going to have something negative to say about it, they would have weighed in. And they wouldn't have let him have got those appointments made, because they had a part of a day, and they can act quickly if they think something is wrong. But
You think they had those appointments ready?
I'm sure that they did.
Yes, they did.
And I'll let somebody else talk about who they are. He's already got his 5 members of the state board. Then you got to go through the process of removing at least one of the Democrats and adding somebody else at a minimum. But he only kept one of the 2 Republicans in his appointments and 2 new ones. But here's another big issue. They have until May 15th to decide if Karen Brinson Bale, the executive director, keeps her job. I'll predict she won't. I don't know who will come back, but it's been a disaster this last election cycle. And I'll just say one other thing. Governor Stein is pretty much absolutely wrong from all I can read about saying this is to try to impact the Griffin-Riggs race, because that vote has left the state. The Supreme Court has already ruled, and now it's in the hands of the feds. I don't see a way, personally, that this can have any impact on the outcome of that race ultimately.
Okay, Andy?
I still don't particularly like it, what they've done. And I know Dave, he's kicked around Raleigh a long time. His dad has been a reporter around Raleigh for years. But I looked at it, saw his picture. I didn't recognize him at first, but Dave's like myself. He's got a lot older, a lot grayer. I just don't see that this is something that really should be in his wheelhouse. But, you know, when you get right down to it, the General Assembly does have that power. I don't like it. I don't think it's appropriate, but there it is. And he's got his appointments in place. I was a little bit, it kind of surprised me, old Bob Rucho, old buddy of mine, Republican who originally was from Mecklenburg County. He and I were elected at the same year. I didn't know he was living over in Catawba County now. Why he wants to be in that meat grinder is kind of beyond me. But, you know, there he is. I didn't really know any of the other appointees, but all I can say is God bless them. I mean, that's a thankless job if there ever was one. But they decided they wanted it, and there they are. So we'll see what happens with it.
And he did appoint two from the west, one from Catawba, and Mr. Eggers from Boone, the lawyer for Boone.
Yeah, he's currently on as one of the two Republicans.
Is he the one that?
He's the one that
okay.
kept.
Well, his family was a head of the English department at ASU for like 30 years. But go ahead, Wes. What do you think? What different thing have you been thinking about all this week that you're going to say here?
Well, you're setting me up too much for that. The fact that the General Assembly, the people that are closest to the voter, it amazes me how you Democrats have a problem with the people closest to the voter having the voice. But Andy, I served with Senator Rucho, Dr. Rucho. Spoke to him yesterday. Think a lot of him. He's a bulldog.
Yep, he is.
We're not going to see shenanigans with him on that board. Francis DeLuca is another one that I know well, that I think will be good. But Mike, to your point, that they've been appointed, this is probably going to stand. I think it's a done deal. And y'all talked last week, I wasn't on the show, about the auditor having this control, but who better than a numbers person? That's what an auditor does, oversee counting numbers. I don't think this is a bad thing.
If the auditor had been a Democrat, do you think they would have given it to the auditor?
No.
Well, no.
No, that's right.
So let's
it's
just
all
get down to
politics.
it's all
Well,
political.
Let me ask a rhetorical question. Do you reckon Josh Stein and Roy Cooper think they might not should have went to court when they tried to have even numbered boards?
That's been several years ago when Roy's first term was.
But now they've not got even a 50-50 board.
Well-
They've got at least until till sometime in 2029, they've got a Republican auditor in charge if this stands, which it seems like it will. And Andy, I guess what they do, if you get a Democrat elected auditor in 2028, you see who's the Republican on the council of the state, and you try to switch it back to them. Isn't that what they'd do?
Probably, but I
Yeah,
still don't
it's all
think it should have been
politics.
even number.
But-
I still don't think
No.
it should have been
But,
even
but
All right,
number.
Wes.
let's go back to May of last year when the state board knew there was a problem, refused to address it, and that led to a challenge of 65,000 votes that never should have happened. Because the state board refused to do their job.
Wes, that is
So
not,
we need a change.
Griff, that is not what happened. But
That's exactly
listen,
what happened.
Y'all, we can't talk anymore about this right now because we've got to go take a break. But we'll be back after the break. Come back and watch Political Smackdown.
Tune in to Senior Moments here on C19 TV. I am Jackie Sibley Newton with Terabella Assisted Living. Whether you are a senior planning for your own future or helping someone make decisions, Senior Moments has got information to share. We talk about the wealth of services, activities, and healthy living options available to you here in our area. That's Senior Moments on C19 and also on C19.tv.
Someone once said that without music, life would be a mistake. And that's how we feel here on Face the Music. Hi, I'm Summer Castle-Keever, and I'd love for you to join me each month on our new program, Face the Music, which airs on C19 TV and C19.tv. Each month, we'll highlight the talents, personalities, and stories behind some of the area's most gifted singers, songwriters, and musicians. It's going to be a lot of fun, so join me each month for a new edition of Face the Music right here on C19.
Jesus loves him.
Welcome back to Political Smackdown.
Or Andy can do
Mike is going to
Kumbaya.
lead us in a verse of Jesus Loved Me. I wish y'all could have heard some of the discussion, but that's for another day.
Well, Wes was just wrong. That's
Brett West is just
Wait,
wrong,
what?
huh?
He was just wrong.
Now on to national news. President Trump has completed 100 days in office. It's been a time of chaos and upheaval. We've had an unelected billionaire purging quote-unquote waste from the federal government departments, particularly those departments that Trump doesn't like. And Trump seems to think that signing executive orders will abolish laws passed by Congress. What's your evaluation of these first 100 days? Do you have any worries with this presidency? What do you see happening in the next 100 days? All right, Andy, begin.
Well, Betsy, there's probably some third world insurgencies that have been smoother than what this has been. This has just been insane from the word go. You know, how many trillions of dollars of our economy had just went poof and disappeared for no good reason other than that the president is just not sure of where he wants tariffs to go. I mean, let's face it. One day he wants tariffs on everything. You come back next day, well, you know, maybe we don't want tariffs on everything. Maybe we'll do part of it. And it's just, and there's one thing that people in business cannot stand is uncertainty. And they're trying to figure out what they want to do. And this is the worst part of it. People don't realize is how long the supply chain actually is. I mean, all right, let's talk about Christmas. Christmas is, everybody thinks, oh, you know, that's several months off. All these large stores like Walmart, Target, Amazon, all these other big ones, they have to put their orders in now. Really, it's a little bit late. Usually it's in April to end of March. They have to place all those orders in for the manufacturers, and most of the toy manufacturers tend to be in somewhere in Asia, China, Vietnam, somewhere over that way, but the bulk of them are in China. They have to put in the orders. They have to get the manufacturing in place. It takes some time to get all that manufactured. Well, they have to get all their materials in place to manufacture. So they have to get their suppliers in place to get the materials. They have to make the materials to get there, to take to the manufacturer. They have to manufacture it. They have to get it to their shippers. It's a minimum 2 weeks, if the weather is good, to get from the port in China to get to Los Angeles, which is most of the port of entry. Then they have to get it there. It has to go through all their process. Then they have to get it out from the port, and it has to get to wherever it's going, and it has to get to that warehouse. Then it has to be distributed to wherever it's going. So by then, you're probably getting about August, September. Then it's got to get to all the stores. Now, if that hadn't wore you out, listening to all that, that's what's got to happen so they can get, your son's G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip to get to where it needs to be, where you can buy it. And that's what's going on, and that's the chaos going on right now in the supply chain.
And so what else is the chaos chart?
Well, then when you've got all that, and then you've got people with their retirement funds that is dropped 35%. And I talked to a friend of mine who about the same age as I am, and he said, I've dropped 30% of my retirement. He says, how am I going to make that up? And I said, buddy, I'm in the same boat you are. We're supposed to be slowing down at this point and done the smart thing like they told us to do and have our money in place at the point where we're ready to retire, that we've done what the smart thing we're supposed to do and take care of ourselves and have our money in place. And then we got a crazy man that through no fault of our own, has wiped out a third of it. So what are we supposed to do? I mean, we've done what we've been told to do, is to be responsible, to take care of ourselves. And it's gone. And it had nothing to do with anything. Because he just decided, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. He's a human starting gun. And once he says something, boom, off to the races we go. And there was no reason that he had to do this. I understand what he felt like he was doing, but you don't do this stuff overnight. You do it in a slow, methodical way, and then where you're not doing more harm than good. And he's doing way too much harm.
All right, Wes?
I don't know where to start after that. Mike and I are probably going to have to tag team this one. I think that's a bit of an overreaction.
But don't let facts bother you. Let's go whatever you need to do, Wes.
I do have concerns over the tariffs, and I've expressed that here on more than one occasion. I think from a political standpoint, Trump was upside down. First thing should have been taxes, this big, beautiful bill, whatever it's called. That's where it should have started during a honeymoon period. I'm afraid that has been somewhat lost. The tariff thing, the uncertainty in the market, it's pressure on my little bitty tiny business. It's a pressure on all businesses. But I do think there's been a lot of progress made. Obviously, we've stopped the problem with illegal immigration. That you could smell the tire burning on the road with the brakes on that. Bringing some agencies under control, doing away with a lot of federal regulation, I think it's going to be a very positive thing that's going to help to offset the tariffs if we can get a tax bill in place. But I don't think any administration has ever done in 100 days what we've seen here.
That's the truth.
And Mike, 100%
Praise
of
the
it,
truth. They don't.
100% of it is what he said he was going to do.
Well,
There's no surprise here.
I know. And
Oh, did he
people
run
went out,
on that he was going
and
to knock
people
out
went
trillions of
voted on
dollars of retirement?
the price of eggs.
Well, that's going to come back. The market will come
That's
back.
a bogus argument, Mr.
It
Dedman.
is not a bogus
The
argument.
stock
It's a
market
fact.
now is roughly today where it was a year ago.
You
Yep.
go talk to people with individual accounts, Mike, and they'll say that's nonsense. It's
Well,
not.
I'm just telling you what the numbers say
Well,
on the
I'm talking
Dow.
about indivial accounts. You can say numbers all you want, but you look
And
at
they go
individual
up
accounts.
and down all the time
Not
for
like
different
this.
reasons.
Not
They
like
will-
Don't let
this.
facts confuse you.
I'm not
Don't
letting
let-
facts. I'm talking about individual
The
accounts.
stock
people
market is not really in the pits like you're saying that it is. But
Well, it
you're
was.
forgetting, you didn't mention one thing, that we had 7,181 immigrants arrested at the border, and that's all that we're trying to pass that they could catch. They had a 95% decrease over Biden's 2024 of March. He was elected over the border more than any other one issue.
Correct.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. And
Well, I don't think anybody's argued that with
No,
you,
nobody
Mike.
said people
yeah,
are
but
worried.
nobody's giving him credit for that over here so far.
Well,
on you
people are worried
Democrats.
about their pocketbooks.
I
The
know.
Mike.
other
Mike.
thing
Worried
is
about
that he's the
families.
first administration yet, Republican or Democrat, that is trying to do something about government waste. Say what you will, the Department of Government Efficiency, while it's having some negative impact on people that we may know and hate it's happening for them, you can't keep expanding the bureaucracy and the government spending like we have been. If you think tariffs are causing a problem, at some point the whole thing will fall flat if you don't do something about the growth of the bureaucracy. And he's trying to do something about that.
And
And-
you don't go in and fire thousands of people out of the federal government with all that knowledge and expertise.
Well, Clinton did.
No.
Obama did.
And,
Well-
let's talk about deporting people.
But they did it
And
over.
by the way, Betsy, just to-
238 people have been
If you don't
sent
get
to
due
San
process,
Salvador without
if you
due
come in without due
process.
process, why should you go out with due process?
Well, that's our laws. It's our country.
But both
It's our
Clinton and Obama
democracy.
did it over 8 year span. They didn't do it in 100 days.
And he still fired a fraction of what they
They
let
did,
loose.
but they did it over 8 years. They
And
did
by
it
the way,
properly.
Betsy, you mentioned in an offhand way unelected Elon Musk. Tony Fauci was unelected, and he shut down the entire country.
He was the head of the
He
National
was
Health.
unelected.
didn't
Elon
have
Musk
to
is the
be.
head of Doge.
Yes, but Elon Musk has come in and put his fingers into the government and has my and yours information and
here's-
messing
Tony
up.
Fauci closed
Here's
my
what
business.
I know
No, that
since-
was health. That was a pandemic.
Since
No.
y'all's
All
hair-
right, y'all.
Ch-
I tell you, I don't think we have enough time to really get through with all we were going to talk about today. I guess we'll come back and finish this up next week. But let's go to the lightning round. Mike, what have you got?
Well, a great from Shelby person passed away this week. Joe DePriest, long time, up until about 1990, was a reporter for the Shelby Star. He's a prolific writer, a good news person. Went to the Charlotte Observer, married Jan Mills late in life. They spent 35 years together. She passed away last year. Joe was 81, passed on April 30th, and he's in a local funeral home here as we speak. And Godspeed to his family, and thank you, Joe DePriest, for your contributions.
Yes, yes. Art Andy?
Well, I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a minute. You know, I've been reading a lot on social media and whatnot, people talking about the county commissioners and about how everybody's down on them right now about, and you know, everything from the new minimum standards and about taxes and all this other. Folks, let's all just take a breath right now. They're doing the best they can. They've got a lot on them. And maybe they have jumped the gun a little bit on some of the stuff on the minimum standards. Maybe they ought to take it back and look at it a little bit closer. And, you know, they've not done anything on our taxes yet. But talk to them a little bit. Give them a break. They've got a lot to do, but they're just human beings like the rest of us. And maybe they just need a little bit of positive input. Give them your input. Let them know what you're thinking in a positive way, and maybe you'll be surprised. Maybe they'll do the right thing.
All right, Wes?
I have no doubt they will. Good people. Betsy, to follow up on your first question, one person I didn't mention, and I think we've got a photograph of Kevin Howell, Shelby High graduate. He finished, I think, a year behind me, has been named chancellor at North Carolina State University, the largest university in, I guess, both Carolinas. Kevin grew up in Shelby, good guy, first-class individual. Congratulations to Kevin, and another example of you can come up in Cleveland County and you can achieve the very top of your field.
Yes, congratulations to Kevin. And mine concerns reading. Congratulations to the library here in Shelby. We now have more bookmobiles out on the road delivering books to the rural communities, and I think that's a great thing. We used to have some, and now I think we have more. And folks, that's it. And I'm glad you came and joined us for this 30 minutes. Come back next week for the next edition of Political Smackdown.